evening, everyone. At this time, if you'd be so kind, please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jamie?
Be advised that proper notice has been given by the Township Council in accordance with the Sunshine Law in the following manner. Notice advertised in the Burlington County Times and Camden Courier Post on January 11, 2017, and posted on the bulletin board on the same date. Mr. Burrell?
Here.
Mrs. Flody?
Here.
Mr. Schwartz? Mr. O'Connell?
Here.
Mr. Cattrick?
Here. So first on the agenda is, I need some approvals for some minutes. We have quite a few here. So I'm looking for approval of the minutes of the work session meeting on January 10th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Flody?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next we have, we need a motion to approve the minutes for the work session meeting on January 24th and February 7th of 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Flody?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Just want to make note that the 24th was a work session, and February 7th was a public meeting. Next, the approval of the minutes of the closed session meetings on January 24th and February 7th.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Flody?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. So we have ordinance on first reading, which is ordinance 2017-03. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 150 of the Code entitled Fees, and to add 150-17, which shall regulate the additional trash containers, and Chapter 299, Section 8, entitled Appropriate Containers. Have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Flody?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. So next we have our resolutions. Let the record show that Councilman Schwartz is now in attendance. So our first resolution, before I ask for a motion to introduce, I just want to make mention that we're about to introduce the 2017 budget. And there's a slight reduction in the tax rate for 2017. And when I say slight, I mean slight. It is down from 0.764 to 0.761. The average home, that will drop the tax rate approximately 0.03%, which is about $6.27 for the average household. As I like to say, anything down is better than anything up. So our portion of the tax rate that council controls is approximately, this is based on 2016 numbers because we don't have the other entities' numbers yet, but we're somewhere around 21.5%. The county represents just under 12%. The school district is just under 62%, and the fire district is just about 4% exactly. This is the fourth year of the last 6 that the tax rate has remained the same or dropped. The other 2 years were about a 1 cent increase. And the budget uses about $3.5 million in fund balance. That's from the surplus. And the budget is $1,298,246 under the appropriation cap. The budget is $750,783 under the levy cap. The budget itself is $16,818,596. The tax levy, which is what we collect from the residents for municipal purposes, is $10,713,000. This is less than last year, and essentially the same rate as the 2011 tax year. So that's about 7 budgets collecting the same levy from Delran residents. There will be a public hearing on the budget, and that'll take place at the council meeting scheduled for April 4th, obviously of this year, at 7 o'clock. So at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to introduce or to approve Resolution 2017-59, which is a resolution to introduce the calendar year 2017 municipal budget.
I'll make, and I'll second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-60. This is a resolution transferring a tax payment made online from Block 40, Lot 15 to Block 40,
I should say
Lot 14.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-61. This is a resolution refunding fee for construction permit 201-607-51 in the amount of $55.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-62, authorizing 2016 sewer adjustments for new property owners.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-63. This is approving a raffle license number 517 and 518 for the Church of the Resurrection.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-64. This approving a raffle license 519 and 520 for the Delran Middle and High School PTA.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-65. This is authorizing the 2017 sewer adjustments for Block 73, Lot 3.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-66. This is authorizing various 2016 sewer adjustments for various properties.
Make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next is Resolution 2017-67. This is approving emergency temporary appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. And final resolution is Resolution 2017-68. This is approving 2016 budget transfers.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next, I need a motion authorizing the payment of bills, including all purchases made under the cooperative purchasing agreement.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next, I need a motion accepting the report of the tax collector, the CFO, and the township clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Next and final motion is a motion granting a mercantile license to NJ Auto Expo, 207-30 Carriage Lane.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Burrell?
Aye.
Mrs. Cloete?
Aye.
Mr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. O'Connell?
Aye.
Mr. Cattrick?
Aye. Now we have our reports from the various staff members and council and our fire commissioner. First, I ask Jamie Eggers, our township clerk, if she has a report for us this
I
evening.
have nothing.
And Jeff Hatcher, our township administrator, any report for us tonight, Jeff?
Just one item, the Delran Township Public Works Department would like to have the cleanup day, the annual cleanup day on April 21st, Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and then Saturday, April 22nd from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's where we have the dumpsters out in the Public Works yard, and if people have large items, just about anything, we'll post exactly what you can take, but we'll have dumpsters out there for township-wide cleanups. We'll put something on the website, and we'll put something in the newspaper as well. That's all I have for that.
Sounds good, thank you. And representing Longmar Mara, Doug Long, our solicitor, any report for us this evening?
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Thank you. And And now is our custom to have a report from the fire commissioners. Representing the fire commissioners this evening is Commissioner Jim Bauer. Jim?
Good evening, Mr. President, Mayor, Council, staff. We actually had a busy month. Make it quick though for you. The fire department, some of the more interesting things we did was we covered Willingboro. We had a working job, and we also sent Station 1 crew in to help them. We covered the Chester Avenue Station, covered Palmyra, where they had a working fire. We also covered Burlington Township, responded to Cinnaminster for a dwelling call to give them assistance, both stations. And both stations responded to 5 MVAs, and both stations also helped Cinnaminster on the traffic. I guess the one major job that we had this month was the building fire on Route 130. It was about 4 a.m. I came in as in the area of Golden Corral, which we were back in his Town Apartments. Police got there and advised us that it was the house near Carriage Lane. As crews got there, it was well involved. You could actually, when we got on 130, you could see the flames in the air, so you knew it was pretty good. Crews got there, truck out of Cinnaminster number 2, who's actually, it's in their backyard because their parking lot is actually in Delaware Township and about a quarter-mile from that fire. Both that truck and the squirt out of Chester Avenue Station signed on together. So both crews got there about the same time. Obviously, that a little before us, as close as they were. They both went into service with hand lines. Both tried to make entry, forcible entry through doors, and once they got a couple feet in there, they realized that the first floor was already in the basement, so they had to back out. Chief Cunningham over there had operations, which is you're up close and personal, and he's directing the hand lines. We weren't sure if anybody was in there or not. We knew it was occupied, that there was somebody that did live there. Obviously, with the first floor into the basement, it wasn't much you were going to do. Concerns were that he was also in the basement. What made things interesting was when the first floor did drop into the basement, it also took the gas meter with it. So now we have a gas-fed fire. So that hampered Chief Cunningham into doing a direct fire. So he kind of let the gas fire burn and then tried to put the rest of the fire out while crews tried to contain and keep the gas burning, but yet not letting it continue to burn the rest of the dwelling. About 3 hours into it, we still hadn't confirmed that where the occupant was. So we called some dogs out from the state police and the local Burlington County organization that does rescue dogs. So they came out, did a search with the dog. One dog got a hit, so we were really concerned that somebody was in there. The state police dog came in, didn't really hit anything. And then we brought the dog back that got hit the first time, and he walked around the perimeter and didn't show any interest. So we were pretty sure that at that point that nobody was in there. And then about an hour or two later, we were able to get a hold of the gentleman. He was in Delaware. So, yeah, that was
Suspenseful story, I have to tell you.
it was got us because you know. 2 hours into it, we kind of did a real quick investigation on our own. We didn't think anybody was in there because we couldn't find a car that had a valid registration to it. Although there were several cars there, but that's not necessarily, saying that there wasn't somebody in there, but we were concerned for about 4 hours that there was somebody in there. So we couldn't do any investigation because the amount of damage, the structure was unsafe, and since we had got a hold of the people, we weren't concerned about anybody being in there. So we were going to leave it up to the insurance company. The insurance company went out there Friday afterwards. I still haven't heard anything from their investigator. The county and I determined that for what little we could do, somewhere in the kitchen living room area on one side. So undetermined, and like I said, we haven't got a report from the insurance company yet. I don't think they went in there either until they probably start tearing it apart, and then once the walls are gone, then you get in the basement. But I doubt you're going to find anything. That gas-fed fire can't burn everything up on us. That's all I got.
That's amazing.
Congratulations
I
on
think-
your congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you very much, sir.
Commissioner, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The young man that was brought up to the hospital, he's okay?
Yes, sir. He, I had a firefighter that was complaining of chest pains. Once we got to the hospital and they they kind of did a whole slew of tests on him. They determined that he had the severe case of the flu. And because of the exercise, that's where he was getting the chest pains from. It wasn't heart related, it was flu related. So they say.
Thank you, Jim. So next we have reports from members of council, starting on my far right with Councilman Schwartz from Ward 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't really have a report, so much just a question. I realized that before I got here, we voted on the ordinance change related to trash cans. And just when I read through it, I heard a question from Mr. Hatcher. I really didn't see a description, I could have been missing a page, about like if someone wanted an alternative to the township bought trash cans. Just for that.
Yeah, it's not in the ordinance. I mean, I don't know that we would necessarily put that in the ordinance, an alternative.
Well, it said something about alternative, then there wasn't like really an explanation what that meant.
There is a description of a trash can that, specific trash can, but it may not always be in the same store, but there's currently a trash can that we can identify that they will service. Currently, I think it's carried by Home Depot, but it's kind of difficult to describe it because they may change what they're handling. So what we'll probably do is keep something on file at the clerk's office, so if anybody calls in, we can provide it and put it on the website, a description of it.
Should they direct, if anyone had questions, should they direct them to you or to?
They can direct it to
Public
me
Works
or Public Works,
Okay.
both of us will be able to get it.
All right, thank you. That was all.
Thank you, Councilman. I would suggest if you want to go to Lowe's, I didn't check Home Depot, but the same trash can that we're selling for $60 is available for $99. You're welcome to go to Lowe's if that's what you prefer. But it's a much better deal to go through Public Works. And our next report is from Councilman Burrell. Tyler, anything for us?
No report this evening.
Okay. And representing Ward 3, Patty Colodi. Councilwoman, anything for the state?
Just that we had a meeting on last Wednesday evening with Jake's Place, and to let the township know that we will be moving forward, the people from Jake's Place and the council have talked about various fundraisers and how to move forward with the proposals for the next step for Jake's Place. It was a very productive meeting, and we're all working together on Jake's Place. And Jake's Place is having two major events. One at the very end of April, which I think it's the music of play, and the magic of play. And then they're going to have a wine not wine later on in the year. So I think if you go to their website and look up both of those events, they're major fundraisers for them, and they want to get our townspeople aware of those fundraisers. So I think they'll be very good ways to raise money for Jake's Place, along with other activities that we plan within the schools and the town. That's all.
Thank you, Patty.
You're
The
welcome.
fundraiser date for the Magic of Play is April 29th. If anybody's interested, it's a great organization, and we look forward to having their facility in town.
And it'll be at
Riverton Country Club.
So it's
correct.
close by.
Right, it is. And next, representing Ward 2 is Councilman Dan O'Connell. Dan?
Thanks, Gary. Good evening, everybody. I just have one thing to report. I was invited by Assemblyman Singleton last Thursday to a joint interfaith service in Maple Shade, billed as Burlington Unites, and it's in response to the flyers. Some of you may have seen, there were articles in the newspaper purported to be from the Ku Klux Klan, and it was also hosted by Assemblyman Lou Greenwald and a host of other local and county elected officials, both Republican and Democrat. I was happy to be there. I'm also happy to report that I haven't heard of any of these flyers appearing in town, and I'm happy about that. And I'm hoping that maybe it's just some people doing some mischief, and it's not really indicative of anything. But I was happy to go there, and I appreciated the invite by the Assemblyman. That's all good.
Thank you very much, Dan. So, two things very quickly. One is, I want to reiterate one of the bullet points that I mentioned about the budget, and that one is the one that I think is probably most important to most people, and that's that this budget is less than last year, essentially the same as the 2011, not the budget, but the levy taxed upon the residents. It's the same as the 2011 tax year, and that's 7 budgets collecting the same levy. So we're very proud of the hard work. I thank the mayor and Jeff, our administrator, and all of the department heads for their hard work. This is not an easy thing to do in this day and age, to keep our spend the same and to be able to work these numbers, and knock wood, we are in a very good financial shape. And I just would like to piggyback on Dan's comments. I think we all agree that this country and Delran benefit from all of the residents that are within our town from the various organizations and religious backgrounds. So at this point, I will ask our mayor if he has a report for us. Mayor Ken Harris. Ken?
Yeah, Gary, I want to reiterate about the budget. I'm going to tell you, it's funny, but back in 2008, when I first took office as mayor, I came up with a concept called using a 3-year cost average, and we implemented that. And in 2011, 3 years later, it's showing the positive attributes to it. And I'm going to tell you, it's all based upon the department heads, really. I want to thank Jeff, Jamie, and the rest of the department heads, Public Works as well. We sit down every year. We go over the budget every year extensively, and we go over line item by line item. We allocate a certain amount that has been working every year. And we actually, in the beginning, we were cutting back 5% every year for the first 3 years. And we've been able to keep it stable every year to actually this year. So with that being the case, it also helps because it does help with our capital budget items. And I'm glad to see that we can start doing a couple other capital budget items that we need to do and that we've held off for a while. So I'm very happy where we are. And it's really for all the department heads. Thank you very much for the great job you guys did. That's it.
Thank you, Ken. Now I need a motion to go into the public portion of our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So we're in the public portion of our meeting. For those folks who may be new, we'd ask that when recognized, come on up, step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. These microphones are for recording purposes and not for amplification. So I'm going to ask you to speak in your outdoor voice, as I would tell my kids when they were little, so that we can all hear you, myself, and the rest of the group. But I'm going to ask you to address your comments to council and therefore me, and then we'll have a conversation if we'd like to do that. Do we have anyone with questions this evening? Yes, sir, you were first. You'll be next. Step right up, sir. You have to step up to the microphone. Take your time.
Yes. My name's Louis Hayner, that's my wife Marcia. Yeah, we're residents at 23 Freck Avenue, right? Now, next to us, the house in the front is up for sale now. The people passed away. She was an older woman, and that's one little issue. Rossi's selling it, but behind it, and I'm just using this, I think it's 17 or 15. They changed the addresses. They're doing some kind of construction there, which is, I did that all my life. I never seen this construction site so dirty in my life. It's a disgrace. There's wood all over the place, right near my property, right, which I'm afraid of in the summer. We got a pool out there. You know, the mosquitoes, the mice, and every other thing, that's what they're attracted to, right? They have an abandoned hot tub there, which for 8 years, I swear to God, I went over there and moved it when it rained so the water wouldn't go. You know, laying, which is bad for, that type of thing too, right? So I'm just wondering, through the council or the building inspector or whoever has to do it, they gotta get that cleaned up. Now, they said they were gonna bring a dumpster there, but it never showed up. You know, so, I don't know who you have to talk to or what you have to do to get the thing going, but, you know, I keep my place pretty neat, and this is a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace is what it is.
So the good news is,
Pardon me?
the good news is the person you have to talk to is right there, Jeff
Yeah,
Hatcher.
yeah.
So,
All right.
so
That's-
Jeff, if you get,
I've actually sent Ted Reinwater, zoning officer, out there twice.
Yeah.
And I'll ask him tomorrow. I know he's been out there, and I don't know what action he's taken, but
Nothing.
I'll have him give you a call
Yeah.
directly if you give me his number, but you can call him directly also to get an answer from
Who,
Ted Reinwater.
Ted, yeah, I
That one's-
tried to call Ted, but he's only there at 12, right?
Yes.
But what I'm getting at, can't the township put some type of pressure on these people?
He would come through Ted, he would be the one.
Because that job should be shut down. I've never seen a job like that my whole life. I'm paying taxes, keeping my place, I'll wind up with all the trash from over there.
Right. He would be the person that would enforce it.
All right, so then,
I'll ask him to come, go out there tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate it, because it's getting near the summer, I wanna clean, paint, and all that, and,
Well, have Ted come out and get in touch with you when Ted comes out.
all right, I appreciate it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello, I'm Kathleen Sullivan, I reside at 11 Sycamore Street. I have a couple of issues. One that came to my attention in the last about 8 weeks, whenever those new trash dumpsters, carts were distributed, and I came home at night and found it plopped in the center of my driveway, so I had to get out of my car in the street and move it before I could park my car. There was a piece of paper in the lid that told me I have to start using this immediately. I was surprised because I had no notice that this was changing. As our mayor is smiling, he and we've already spoken. I've already spoken to Mr. Hatcher. I spoke to Jerry, is it DeSanto in Public Works? And I've come to find out that council or feels that the residents were all notified because you only give notifications through the newspaper and through the website. I asked if there had ever been any notification that this was the only way residents would get information, and I find that nothing apparently was done. I don't know how long ago this decision was made, but you're not taking into account all residents. I am someone who chooses, for my own reasons, not to purchase a newspaper, and I'm also not enamored with the computer. Since I work in front of one all day, the last thing I want to do is surf the web at night. Now, while I know and I've been told that this is how it is and it's not going to change, I would ask that you would consider either a mailing, which I know there's a cost, and I've just been hearing about the budget, and I, as a resident, thank you for being so diligent and keeping that. But when changes like this are made, you need to consider all the residents. If I had received something in the mail or a flyer in my mailbox telling me that going forward and for financial diligence, that Delran was only going to let residents know about issues and changes through the newspaper and website, at least I would have known. I was completely blindsided by the cart, and as the gentlemen know that I spoke to, I'm not happy with them because it's an enormous elephant-sized cart that you're expecting me to move. So one, I would like you to consider at least doing some one-time notification of all the residents that if you need information, this is how Delran Township is going to advise you. You need to go and look at the website if you don't get a newspaper. So I don't know if you're prepared to give me any feedback on that item.
Well, we do a mailing, typically, in one of the bills, there's some information, we still have, when was the last time we did that?
We do do it from, in terms of every once in a while with the tax, but this would not have been timely to go out with the tax bill because of when the bids went out.
So, let us think about how we can do some sort of a notice that says, if you don't read the newspapers and you don't use the website, how we can reach you. We'll figure that out. In the meantime, you've got the 96-gallon container.
There is a smaller
We
one, there's a
talked-
65, yes, but I was using two, what I call normal size trash cans, and they were, 35 gallon?
Right.
Because of the weight, and because I'm the one dragging them to the curb. And apparently because of the system that you're using, the company, which the name escapes me at the moment.
Republic.
Republic, thank you. That's not an option for something smaller. It's either the ginormous one or the large one, extra large 65. It's not good for me, and I can't feel that I am the only resident in the township of Delran that this wasn't a good idea for. I understand the public saying, hey, this is all we're going to do, but I would hope that all options were considered for all residents, because if we hurt ourselves in moving these things, you know, who's paying our medical bills when we pull her back out or whatever, you know, just
Right.
hypothetical.
So let me just explain a couple of things. First, the carts have really big wheels, which I find them to be easier to move than my old trash cans, which were they were in the normal range. I was at 48 gallon, smaller wheels.
Yes.
This one's easier with the 96 gallon. And we went through the normal process where we put it out to bid. We get 2 respondents to our RFP. This was the lower of the 2. It was higher than 5 years ago, but isn't everything.
Yes.
And they gave
Except
us
our
the
paychecks.
option to use the automated for a discount. Is it less than it was 5 years ago? No. But it was less than it would have been if we stuck with the regular cans and bags and the like. So we felt as a council that this was the better option, and that it was the kind of the way things are going. We're hoping to see additional savings beyond the savings that were built into the contract, in that things will stay dry. And frankly, we pay for the trash that goes into the truck and how much is dumped into the dump by the ton. And if it's drier, it's lighter. And those big lids help. We've been told some great numbers. We're very conservative with our estimate. We hope that it will be there, but we just would like to see any additional savings. And hopefully, it will encourage folks to recycle more, because ultimately we get a grant for recycling that is somewhat based on how much recycling the township produces. And so recycling is kind of a positive the more we do, and trash is kind of a negative the more we do. So, so we're hoping that people lean toward recycling and are judicious with what they put in the trash can.
Well, I do my big blue recycle cart.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point. I was not aware of wet trash versus dry trash, and it makes total sense,
Yeah.
but it's something I've never heard of before. Which I know, the trash can issue thing isn't going to change, but the notification, I just want to say too, while I know cost and it's costly to mail, I had thought flyers and maybe, distribute it to each household. And I'm always somebody coming up with ideas and thinking outside of the box, so I just wanted to float out there whether or not it's even possible to save on a cost of notification, printing up flyers and checking with the scouting groups if they could possibly distribute them. I know they have badges that they have to earn. I know there's a community service badge. Whether or not anything like that, them distributing flyers throughout the township would help them earn a badge. Just an idea that I'm floating out to you.
Yeah, let me say one more thing, and I know we talked about that. The other thing that I mentioned, and I think I should talk to you, Jeff, about it, is the only problem is, every time we have a change like the cans, or if there's something else, you have to do that each time. So I did speak to you, Jeff, I believe, in regards, remember a phone blast? I mean, the other idea I thought was a phone blast, but the thing is, it's the school's phone blast or the police's phone blast, and we have to make sure we can do it. But anytime we have a major change like that, that's a possibility, and we can entertain that, and I've talked to Jeff about that already. So that's the other idea.
Didn't we at
And
one
then-
time?
oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, no, you go ahead, sir.
You're more important than me.
Well, two, and while that would be great to have a mailed or phone blast or something for each and everything, my point is too, even if you just do a blast one time saying, these are the only two ways we're gonna communicate, newspaper and website. At least then we know that it's on us, that we
Okay,
have,
yeah.
you know, that's what I'm saying. I prefer to get something, but I feel that notice should have gone out before this ever changed to website and newspaper only, because I'm like, what's going on?
Understood.
My question was, didn't we have like an email notification system at one time that said that there was an important update to check the website?
There was, in one of the iterations of the earlier website, we had that, we found it to be flawed considerably, in that the system at that point, we get a lot of complaints because every time, Ms. Jamie, I think we approved 6 or 7
Well, I used
sets
to
of
give you
minutes.
every single change.
Every change that we put in would automatically trigger, and people were getting 15 emails a day
They were
saying,
put up with it.
enough.
No, no.
So I know nobody wants that.
No.
So we'll see if we can find some.
So there's
sort
a
of-
happy medium, right?
Right.
The other issue is that that would be something that you would proactively have to sign up for.
Correct.
So if you didn't visit the website, you wouldn't know that you had to sign up for
And
it.
if you don't
so it
mail me a
wouldn't work
flyer, I will visit the website.
Touche.
I think
Nicely.
we can look into it.
We'll see what we can find, some way, some additional method. Maybe we'll rent space on the fire department sign and let them know change is coming. Look at your website.
But you have to do the other side of Route 130 too.
I know.
High school.
I know. We put on, we got the high school and the fire department.
Fire department over there. Then I do have another issue,
Yes.
and this came about, and to my knowledge, after the last purported huge snowstorm that we were going to get, which didn't happen really. But the plow and salt sand mixture, whatever it is that you distribute, came down our street and plowed. I was taken aback to find that salt and sand had been distributed all the way at the end. Sycamore Street is a dead-end street, the last one back. And for many years, and even Mr. DeSanta was aware, and he said he raised this when this came up, that there had been a long-standing agreement that nothing was to be dropped at the end of the street. Now, I'm aware that a number of years have gone by, and my former neighbor across the street has moved, and I have a new neighbor. Never was it a thought in my mind to have this discussion, neither did this neighbor speak to me, but apparently they came to this meeting and said they were very concerned, liability, they had visitors, people are gonna fall. So based on that, the decision was made, okay, we're going to now throw down the salt and sand. Nobody gave me any consideration. I'm a taxpaying resident too. If you knew that there was a long-standing agreement, why didn't you contact me? Why didn't you ask me a question? Why was this done? And the worst part is you threw the salt and sand, this is why I called, it was 5 feet onto my front lawn. I am out there with a snow shovel, trying to dig the snow and salt and sand off of my front lawn and throw it back out on the asphalt, because I don't want that on my property. And I spoke to Mr. DeSanto, we'll try to cut back the spread. That doesn't answer it. I mean, you can do it on their side. I cannot help it that my neighbor chooses to park his business vehicle on my side of the street, and I'm aware that, anybody can park anywhere. I don't own the street, I get that. But I'm not happy because it was a long-standing agreement, and People sat behind desks and made the decision and didn't include me.
I don't remember, I'm gonna tell you, I've been here since 2008. I don't remember any of that coming to council or me in regard.
I was gonna say, I've been here for 27 years, and the decision was never made
Yeah.
here.
Okay,
If
well, this
there
is
was
what I
a
was-
decision, it was probably be between yourself and the Public Works Department, and that would have been changed.
Yeah.
There is that, Mr. DeSanto did mention it to me after, I guess you called and complained, but that was the first time I'd ever heard of that.
Well, he is the one that advised me that my neighbor came to the meeting here, and this is when it got changed.
Never.
So I'm not happy with it, because the agreement was in place for it was agreed between the,
When was your agreement, first of all?
well, my father was still living, and I don't recall,
Yeah,
because it's.
'cause I don't know of any agreement you had, and I
Right.
never heard of any agreement that we did for the other side either, so.
Well, my parents, it's my parents' house and, my house now.
Right.
And the neighbors that long time across the street, they had discussed, because being that it is a dead-end street,
Right.
when you throw that mixture down, it's there
No, I got it.
forever
I
and ever, amen.
I think the best suggestion, whether this happened before or whatever, since we don't know that, the best suggestion is for you to get together with Jeff, and possibly Jeff talk to Jerry and see how we handle your situation and the neighbor across the street. That's how,
Well,
Go ahead.
I think the difficulty in what you're being asked is that you're being asked not to put salt down in a public street. And,
he's taking over the law.
well, no, it's ending up on our lawn, but, I mean, they're not shooting for the
Well,
lawn.
yeah.
Is not to put it in a public street, and I think that's an issue, a bigger issue is in terms of the liability, is, there's an agreement with her, it's a bigger
No, I agree.
municipal liability. It's something that you guys will have to decide is, are you gonna, we
Well,
don't turn the salt off and on when we go down this, when they go down the streets, Public Works goes down the streets.
Which they have done for years, and there's never been an issue. And I understand, if with the new neighbor, now they've been there, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. And I did mention to Mr. DeSanto, I understand it's probably a money issue, which he assured me it's not, but let's face it, I pay taxes, they pay taxes, but they also pay taxes on the business that they own in the township, the landscaping
So,
business.
let me just assure you, that we don't make decisions based on who's the bigger taxpayer. So what Jeff is saying is it's our obligation to make sure the streets are safe as they can be in a storm. And spreading salt, I can tell you, is not an exact science. It's not like we can stop it at the curb. Jerry, I'm sure, is aware, and I'm sure that Jeff or the mayor will talk to Jerry and explain the situation. And his folks will do the best they can, I would assume. But I would bet that they're going to try to protect that street or the people that use that street. So it's kind of a public safety issue. I get it. Salt and cinders and sand on your lawn is not a pleasant thing, but it's a
Well, and then
difficult
it's
spot.
more work for me. Not only do I have to shovel out my walk and driveway, then you're expecting me to also shovel my lawn, because I don't want that on there. The other thing is, like I say, it's there forever. The street sweeper comes around, once a year, twice a year? We need it cleaned up as soon as there's a melt, because we're not a through street. The through streets, it goes on the car wheels, I'm the one that goes out there and I sweep my half the street, and let me tell you, it's very heavy. I get out with a big push broom, I sweep it up, I gather it up, because they were not salting from my driveway back, but they were from my driveway up, so I have like a double frontage. So I clean that up, because I never know when the street sweeper's coming around, and frankly, they usually just scatter stuff more than they pick up, but I need some help resolution. Yeah, I don't want it on my lawn, and I don't want the mixture there forever.
Jeff, will you talk to Jerry and see if he has a recollection of what they used to do? And if that's still safe to do?
Again, what you're being asked not to put salt down, so you have a liability issue. My guess is that the other resident asked for it to be put down because of, concerns about the street.
Right.
So what I can ask him to do, unless you tell me differently, is to try to make sure that it's controlled as much as possible, and that we sweep that street, make sure we sweep that street. I'll talk to him about that tomorrow.
Okay. Great.
Okay, thank you for your
Can I
time.
just ask one question,
Yes.
just so I understand? It's a dead-end street, you're talking about the dead-end portion.
Correct.
Are you, 18 is what it crosses
He's
the
all the way on the
street?
left
I'm
side.
11, I'm the
You're on the
last
other
one
side.
back on the left. I have been all my life.
Okay.
I know you.
Back when the address used to be Bridgeboro Road and Sycamore Street, before we even had house numbers.
Wow. Are you related to Karen?
I'm sorry?
Are you related to Karen?
That's my sister.
High school.
I knew the name Catron Road,
Yeah.
I couldn't
First-
remember which one of my siblings went to school with,
Absolutely.
so, yes.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Thanks.
Thank you for your time, I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Anyone else have a question? Yes? This is about how much it costs to rent.
James Bauer, 816 Edgewood Avenue. I'm lucky enough that I live in the Delcrest section of town, so I have great open space area. And after the first frost, I take advantage of walking through the woods with my dog. I do take paper towels and plastic bags, so I bring his little problem home.
You're gonna complain this.
I think I'm one of the few people that do it, but whatever. There's a couple things that I have about that particular area. One is, and I know the township signs it, that you need to have your animals on a leash. And unfortunately, we have people in the town that like to destroy the signs that you put up and paint over them so they're not readable anymore. And I'm almost done using that property because the ticks will be out very soon. But I think that you kind of need better signage, like maybe off Howard Street and maybe where the sewage pump is, and then again where the bathrooms are on the lake, I want to say Lake Orion. I want to say Lake Orion, but that's
Lake Connie.
Lake Connie, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And not that people aren't going to damage them and destroy them, but I people honestly, and I've talked to people, I've had problems with dogs running loose with a leash law, and they said this is open woods and the township doesn't regulate it, and you try to explain to them that it's open, there's our rules and regs. So it might help, it might not. People, listen, we all know it. People are going to do what they want sometimes. If the person's that way, all the signs in the world aren't going to stop them.
Then they're gonna come to your house.
Yeah, I know, that's all right. I kind of know where I live already anyway. So I just think that maybe for the people that don't know it, maybe education. Like I said, you've done it, they destroyed it, I get it, it's a pain for the township to keep replacing
And
signs.
if you see that, Jim, or anytime, just contact Jeff and we'll follow
Nah,
up.
Jeff, just think I'm complaining.
What's your address?
The other thing that I have, and I don't know what, I know that's open space. I don't have any facts to back this. I have a feeling that the ATVs and some of the walkers are having a war, because I've noticed in the last month or so that there's some trees that have been cut down to go across the path, so the ATVs can't go through there anymore. And I know that from the past, if a tree drops, that area, you're supposed to just leave it alone and not touch it, but obviously somebody else is doing it, and that's a problem that's out of your control. I'm just making you aware of it. The one thing that I am asking now is, on the dead end of Baylor Street, up until probably 2 years ago, depending upon which way my dog feels like walking, you can walk behind all those houses and come out at the dead end of Baylor. There's growth of, I'm not sure anymore, I think it's, I'm not even sure what it is, but I think it's bamboo that's growing back there, which is taking over. And in 2 years, the path is such now that I see people are actually taking machetes and trying to open it back up, and it just keeps, and there's an area that is now so clogged with this bamboo, I believe it's bamboo,
If it is, did you ever try to get rid of it?
That's what I said, from landscapers, they said it's quite hard to get rid of, you gotta dig it out and all that. Listen, by the time it gets to a point where behind all this, I'll be dead and gone and that, but it's at a point now, I don't know if there is anything you can do to stop it, because I've noticed it's taking over that corner, and you can't even get out that way anymore, it's so thick. And eventually, like I say, it's just gonna walk through that whole area behind Fordham, and it's just gonna take over that whole swamp area. So I don't know if that's something where, I don't know, the state or whoever, if there's things that, because obviously that's not, shouldn't be back there, it's not to this area, and somebody had planted it.
Jeff, could you have Jerry take a look?
That's wicked.
Oh, I know, like I said, I talked to Martino, and all, they go, that's pain, it's labor intensive. I just want to make you aware of it, because I can see it is going to be an issue in years coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Good evening, William Tilden, 59 Alden Avenue here in town. I just wanted some clarifications about the new trash regulations. And the question that I have, before I even get to that, I did get a new trash can from the township, and it was excellent service. A very nice lady explained things, and I gave it to the township, delivered the trash can that afternoon. So that was really wonderful. I wanted to pass that on.
Great.
But I do have a question about items that don't fit in the trash can. Now, a lot of times I have little renovation projects, so I'm not talking about gutting a house or anything, but like pieces of lumber or that kind of thing, that, you know, I used to cut them into four-foot lengths and then put them in the open can. How do we handle that now? I get the impression that everything is supposed to be fit into those trash cans.
Right, so obviously bulk items like this, a sofa or something like that can be outside of that.
Jeff, I believe that everything still has to fit in the can, is the,
Yeah, what we're trying to do is work on some description, some more detailed descriptions so we can address some of those items, because we recognize that's probably the item we're getting most questions on. But yes, we want to try to get them cut up into the cans if at all possible. Other big bulk items they will take. If you give Public Works a call, we'll be able to address it for you.
Okay.
But we're going to get a better description out there of exactly what to do with those kinds of items.
Because one thing, I was trying to find out information on the township website, and the description really was under the old system, the way I read it, and not for what we're doing under the new regulations. So
this is in the code or on the website?
on the website, the township website, on it. You know, you look up on this place where you click on Public Works and it tells you this kind of neat stuff. And it didn't, but it talks about the old system.
Right.
And can that be updated? Because that's
Sure.
the first place I would look to get answers like I was just asking.
So there, absolutely, so I've already asked Jamie to look into that. There are multiple locations for information so that people who are looking, sometimes the first location, the second one gets updated, and the third one is forgotten. So she's going to take a look at that tomorrow. I know Jamie, she's very good about keeping that website neat. So she'll look into it and see what she can do about getting it updated tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much, then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's John Kobialka. I live on, in Cambridge. I live on Chestnut Street, 107 Chestnut Street. I lived there for 50 years, and I had no parking signs from the factory across the street. And all of a sudden, they took this no parking signs down, and now I got all the cars parked in front of the house. It's on the sign, especially on Second Street.
Right. Jeff, what was the, there's been some history about these signs.
We haven't removed any signs, but I'll look into it.
Right, so let.
Why did they take the signs down?
We don't know.
We didn't do it.
know they were taken down.
So, whether, I
And,
don't know
you know,
whether
I
vandals
live
took them down.
opposite the entrance of the factory, and it's very close, so they all park there.
Yeah,
They don't want to walk.
so Jeff's gonna take, we didn't authorize nor
No.
that we're aware of, no one from the township took those signs down.
Well,
So,
could you put them back up?
can we put them back up, Jeff? Do we have?
We'll take a look.
Well, let's
We have to have an ordinance for them, as long as
Right.
the ordinance exists, we'll put them
So
back up.
if,
But we didn't authorize taking any down, so.
right, so
You
we'll,
know, they only have to put them up in one block away from the factory, because they won't walk 2 blocks. The last time they had an ordinance,
I'm not laughing at you, sir. It's just kind of funny, people can't
They
walk
put
well,
the
a
signs
couple
up.
of blocks.
the last ordinance, they put the signs 2 blocks away, and it was a waste of work and signs.
so,
They don't want to walk.
here's what we'll do. We'll look at that, we'll look and see what happened, if we can find that out. And we'll look into whether there's an ordinance that anyone's ever bothered to, I know that they put the signs up, but in order to put the signs up, the council, prior councils should have done an ordinance to say, it's the law you can't park there, not just put a sign
Yeah,
up.
well, you know,
So
when
we'll
they
figure that
park-
out.
When they park around the house, the value of the house goes down. You can hardly sell it with all
Right.
the cars parked.
I understand.
How long ago did you notice they were down? How long ago were they not parking there?
I don't know, I've been there 50 years and I can't remember.
No. So they've been parking there for a long time?
Yeah, they're parking there, and when one sees the other one parking, they keep multiplying, because it's close to the entrance.
Right.
Okay.
All right, we'll absolutely take a look at it.
Yeah, I appreciate if you could put the signs back up and I could sleep at night.
Okay.
You know, I'm 92.
Wow.
You look fantastic.
And I don't need these problems. There was a guy parked in front of my sidewalk, and I put a sign on his car, no parking. He sees me and he says, if you put another sign up, I'm gonna beat you up.
No. Really?
Yeah, the guy was hysterical, he was crazy.
Hmm.
He's gonna beat me up.
When he says something like that, you should try to get the tag number and call the police.
I did enough fighting in World War II, so
No.
I don't have to fight anymore. I appreciate it if you could do something.
Thanks, Mr. McCown. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, I'll ask for a motion to come out of public.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Next time.
There you go.